All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you living, pal?
I'm better now. Welcome back.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Great to be in your presence.
Avoided the
near
scare.
You. Yes, we've avoided, and now we are surviving.
You want to
thriving.
be you want to be cautious. Wanted to be cautious.
There's no reason not to be cautious.
Yeah,
I feel
so
like discretion is the better part of valor, as they like to say.
That's such a great.
It is a great.
There are so many words that are like that, where there is only the follow. Once you say discretion, there's no way that the better part of valor does not follow.
Unless
and there
it's
are other,
preceded by viewer, and then it is advised.
Valid. Then it's advised. Then
Right.
it's advised. But in terms of what follows, that's the only thing that follows.
Agreed.
Boy, I'm glad we have a lot of fun things to discuss, and I'm glad because you need a distraction. This is the worst. We had a great couple of months, but this is as bad as it gets.
It's depressing.
It is, and it's been this way now. This rain gray for what since last Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
It's been about almost a week of this nonsense. And you can't do
I didn't
anything
even
in
go back
it.
to the Sunday before, although we had a couple nice days during the week prior to that Thursday night game, but that's when I got hailed on.
Oh, that's right.
On. So, I mean, there's been some stuff, but it's just this. It's just
this is
blah.
untenable.
It's sucking the life out of Gibbe.
I can see. There's no enthusiasm in his face whatsoever. Lost.
I have no. If
See?
I could crawl under
running
the desk
on
and
empty.
take a nap, I would right now.
He's running on
I have
empty.
nothing.
I'm telling you, I
There's
agree.
nothing in the gas tank.
What do you want to do out there? You can't do anything. You can't live in that.
No, I was even hoping to get a little golf in this Saturday. It's going to rain on Saturday.
You're not getting any golf.
We'll see
How
you next
long-
March on the golf.
Unless
long-
I'm playing in a boat.
How long? One of those. Remember they had those hovercrafts for a while.
Be great, yeah.
Those never. I suppose like the $150,000 per price tag kept it out of most golf.
Those motorcycles, though, I think I might invest in one of those
There's
for next
Ellsworth has the motorcycles. I saw them out at in Hudson. They had the Ellsworth golf course had the.
They're elite.
Those seem. I've never been on one.
I did.
I imagine they're spectacular.
It's so fun.
What's the negative? Just that you can't have much conversation with a buddy in a cart? Is
You
that the
can.
negative?
You
But
roll
still can.
right
You just
next
ride.
to each other. It's
So-
like, yeah. Pulled into Nazareth.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
and that's how you're just riding, cruising.
You and I are of an age. Is that still the case for the kids? Is there a romanticism to the motorcycle that there was for us as
I
kids?
don't believe so. I think
Probably not.
You've been told that it is,
Wildly unsafe.
which
Yeah.
there's some
Probably.
validity to.
Probably valid
Yeah,
that it
no.
is. But yeah, there was a romanticism around motorcycles and
Like
cigarettes
a
and
big
a lot
Harley.
of those things. They're all gone.
Cigarettes.
It's all gone. Watch a movie from the 80s. They can't wait to smoke a cigarette.
Oh my goodness.
Basic Instinct. What do you do? Arrest me for smoking? I mean,
Maybe I will.
maybe I will. Maybe I will arrest you for that. So, what did you make of the Monday Nighter lesson? That is. Here's what I made of the actual game. There are about 8 absolutely pathetic teams in this league, maybe more, but those are 2 bad teams. Man.
So I watched probably a grand total of 10 minutes of it,
Okay.
and that includes the
Oh, that's
Manning
it?
cast. That's it.
Oh my gosh, we have a lot I wanted to get to.
So
on the
I
Mannings.
have taped and then sourced out some of the highlights
Of
from the
Manning
Manning
cast?
cast. Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm able to
You'll
at
be
least
fine.
converse with you about what I saw from the Manning cast, which remains undefeated in my opinion. It's great. The game was terrible. It was awful. It was rotten. It was boring. But I had to, Miss K and I made the decision. We watched episode 7 of Squid Game.
Okay.
And then episode 8 was smart of them, was only a 30-minuter. So we're like, all right, well, we've got to watch that. And then we were like, well, now all we have left is the finale. We've got to watch that. So we went through episode 7, 8, and 9 of Squid Game. High recommendation for
Okay.
me. It has multiple jaw-dropping moments. The ending was I'm not gonna. I'm just
Okay,
saying was
all right.
was the ending in my opinion as strong as the totality of the series? No, but very satisfying. And I thought that there was a moment that made me cry. So if
Wow,
a show
that's
can
heavy.
make me cry,
Yeah.
it gets me on an emotional level. So
Okay.
that's what we did a lot of.
Well, let's do the quick entertainment for a
Okay.
second here because
Sure.
let's do Curb because that
Okay.
made me cry in another way. I'm afraid that it's over. I'm afraid that I'm so disappointed in the premiere that I believe that I'm fearful that there's a lot of things. I feel like the fastball's not there. For the first time,
First
I'm noticing
episodes are always not great.
I'm noticing the age of LD. Like he's not quite as spry, getting around places. I mean, he's been doing the show for 20 years,
Okay,
right?
The person who's aged the most is Jeff.
I'm getting to that.
Jeff
That's the
was-
other part. Jeff has not aged well. I mean, they've been doing the show 20 years. The Albert Brooks edition is a huge fail. It's a huge fail.
I wish I had 4 hands so I could give Albert Brooks 4 thumbs down.
Yeah.
Get him out. I realize he's somehow related to the Funk Man in real life or
His
something.
brother.
Fine.
And apparently, I've done some research on this because I was so upset about it because I love this show so much. It's brought me as much joy from a humor standpoint as anything in my life from an entertainment standpoint. And apparently, it seems that, Super Dave would not have been a fan of his brother being on the show and replacing him.
No,
he's
unlikable.
Yeah.
I don't like anything about him. What's the movie he's in? He's in one of those Judd Apatow movies where he plays
he's
like
in broadcast
the dad,
news a long
and
time
he's
ago, right?
just a total crud in that.
Yeah.
Like he peaks as the dad in Nemo. That's
the peak.
That's the peak for him. But
I'm worried. I don't like this angle. I find that the idea of the blackmail.
What did he say? I have unlimited money.
Not
bring
plausible,
it on. Bring
not
it
plausible,
on, dude.
Not
now,
plausible.
it is true in California because my father was very quick to point out, it is true in California that even though the perpetrator was committing a crime on your property, you would still be liable for his demise if you were not up to code. In fact, there was a famous story my dad likes to tell me, which I can,
we
I
can't
didn't Google
verify it,
this
though,
for the
'cause there's no
veracity
Google,
of it,
yeah.
but there was
Said it
a
emphatically.
break-in somewhere where they escaped out through the ducts and then were running across the roof of something and fell through a skylight to their, not death, but great pain and suffering, and sued the building and won, even though they had been.
It's just stupid. Our courts suck. If that's
the
real.
worst,
If
yeah.
that's real, it's the worst.
I agree.
It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
no, I'm with you. So I thought my review of it, which means it was good, not great, and I'm not even sure it was good. The plop was fun. The walking of the wall was fun, but I thought the girl was going to walk into the window at the end of her interview.
She should have walked in the
and
interview.
then
It was all set
crush
up.
it. Yeah, it was set up.
The one thing that I do think is fun is they have the guy who was on Veep, who played Dan Egan on Veep. He's set up to be Don Jr. at Netflix, and I don't know if you saw some of the photos on the back of the in the interview room of him like big game hunting. So there's going to be, I think that'll be some humorous down the line, and that kid can flat out act. He's probably the best smug actor I've seen. I don't
He
know
was
if you
quite smug.
I don't know if you're into Veep, but he is unbelievable on Veep, and
Okay.
I think there's some high potential there for him being kind of a know-it-all.
I also
smug
think
guy.
young Larry's show could be funny.
Yeah, if they actually do that, if they cast that and they play it out.
And do it out. Right. I think that'd be good. So here's the one thing, though. Here's my idea. During the bye week, on a day when there's not a lot going on, what I would like is for Gibby to host Browns Daily and have it be a funeral while we're still alive for me and you, where people just sing our praises about what great
I did like that. It's a good idea.
broadcasters we are.
It's a good idea.
It's just not for him. Like,
Not
if it
for
was
him.
about Leon, it would have been the best.
The best. But he doesn't deserve the accolades.
No. Well, and frankly, they weren't. No
weren't-
one was ready to hand him any accolades in their
No,
speeches either.
other than John Hamm.
Yeah.
Hamm was. He was willing. On the Manning cast last
But
night.
what do you think about that, though, Gibby? Would you do that for us?
If you mean would I turn it into a roast of the two of you? Absolutely.
No, it's a funeral. We're still alive.
I don't
Why
know how
should
that
why
would be
should
translated that
why
way,
should you
Gibby.
have to be dead for people to gather and say great things about you? That premise was pretty
the
good.
premise was pretty good. I did like that premise.
I'd like to be
of that.
alive and hear these
Yeah.
things, so when I do
Yeah.
die, I go to sleep happy knowing how people felt.
I've had a good run. Like, whatever.
I would love to do one for you.
Yeah, while you're upright, I think would be the key to that.
Wouldn't you want to hear all those things? The people have to say their favorite Gibby moments, the Mount Rushmores of Gibby. Well, what about this Gibby? What
appreciate
about
it.
that Gibby?
I
The Mount
appreciate the
Rushmores
love,
was great.
But
That was great.
I'm good.
Hypocrite Gibby making a strong run at the Rushmore.
A late run at it.
Yeah.
On
right,
the Manning
Manning.
cast. Manning cast.
Yep.
Here's the deal. Just it's on cable. Just put a disclaimer up
Let 'em
early
say what
and
they
just
want.
say some language may not be suitable for all audiences.
Perfect.
And it's done. The idea that they had that Marshawn drops all that he drops, including a WTF, and all of a sudden, then I think part of the reason he got bounced too is he asked Manning about his Papa John stuff, and then that was done. He was out. Once he asked him about the Papa
He
John's
said, "I didn't know
money-
you were hooked up like that. I want to get in like that."
And then he was gone, and then Manning has to apologize for the language. That's not what we're all about. I'm thinking, you brought Marshawn Lynch on. He had 3 shots of Hennessy. What do you think he's going to do?
One for big bro, one for little bro.
Of course, that's what he's going to do. And he was wildly entertaining
Great.
and insightful and great. The entire second quarter of them with Tom Brady, I don't know any other way that you would ever have that circumstance. And that was amazing, absolutely amazing for a whole quarter.
That's why that is so special. That's why I taped it.
Yeah.
Even though I had no interest in watching that game, so that I could hear, oh, well, this is, you don't know who's going to be on ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about it, too. Hey, Tom Brady's stopping by.
Right. There's no other scenario.
There's no promotion. There's just Tom
All
Brady.
of a sudden he's there.
He's just there.
On a whiteboard.
And Drew Brees was there.
Yep, he was at the end.
At the end.
Sue Bird, I could not tell if she had ever watched football before.
I don't know, but she tried to give him a little bit of the business. She had a little
did.
back and forth.
She did, but at one point, like they go, what do you run here on 3rd and 2, Peyton? She goes, I have no idea. Is this a blitz? And the Seahawks had the ball. So, I mean, there was that.
What bet did Peyton lose that he had to wear the Eli jersey for the
Ole
first
Miss
half?
beat Tennessee.
Okay, so he wore that, and then he counted it down and took it off 2 seconds early.
Yeah.
If I was Eli, I would be demanding.
I know that you would. The
full 2 seconds.
Eli is running out of material, so it's constantly big forehead, giant head jokes. It's constant. It's the same over and over with
He
Eli
looks
and
the
the
same
jokes.
every week too.
He wears the same clothes. I'm convinced I told my wife this last night. I said I'm convinced that there's like some sort of a tailor in New Orleans that Archie long ago started going to, and the entire family just buys all their clothes from them because they are in the same outfit
Strong
always.
quarter zips.
It's a strong quarter zip game. It's a strong gingham shirt game.
Yeah,
it's
the gingham
a
shirt.
five
Sure
five pocket pant, but not a jean. It's a heavy dose of that. That's the outfit. It never changes. It's
No.
the same outfit always.
I did think watching the portion that I watched contiguously was some of the fourth quarter. I did think watching Drew Brees try to explain that, well, they don't have Drew Brees anymore,
Right.
was really funny.
It
Now,
was.
their receivers aren't good either.
No, Jameis is tough. It's tough though. I mean, it's not great.
I love when he yelled at the guy on the sideline. The guy yelled back at him, and his eyes bopped out of his head. That was a good moment.
That was strong. Yeah. No, that was rough.
Is Mike Thomas going to make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, well, fantasy-wise, he'll catch a lot of balls for you the second half of the year,
should.
I think. So I think that's it. I know we're going to get to Ben Baby. I'm going to give you 3 director's notes from Manningcast they need to do. They got to be there every week.
Yes.
You can't just show up, not show up. And the problem there is they don't need them. They don't need the job, so they can set the rules. But they have to be there every week to set viewer habits. They need to have a ringmaster. You have to have somebody that can ask those 2 questions because right now they're over-reliant upon the guests. That you need somebody to steer them.
McAfee.
I caught the part when they had Sue Bird on.
It was
and
brutal.
no one knew what direction to go. The game was awful. She wasn't great
She
as
was
a
awful.
guest.
No.
They didn't know how to react to her, and it
was bad.
It was bad TV.
Yeah, it was really bad. So they need to have a ringmaster that
it
can point them in
McAfee?
the
Or do you want
someone that they both like and respect that can have fun with them and point them into the direction and ask them a question because a lot of time it falls on Peyton to ask Eli the same thing over and over again. And there's what do you do here, Eli? Like they just go to that.
And bad football makes them so mad. Like Peyton was
he's so upset.
Last night he was very upset with the whole game.
Well, next week's not going to be any better. The Monday Nighters,
it's
Giants, Chiefs.
Well, but at least they can talk about Mahomes, if that's going good or bad.
But will they start tearing apart Daniel Jones because he's boys with all those guys?
I don't know. Good point. The other thing, they have to be in the same studio, to do it or at least they have to have a better connection than they have because they don't know who's talking and who's not when they have the third guest on.
Yep. Agreed.
So they step all over each other.
The sound's not great.
No, it's not. I've got the volume like to 50 on the TV, and for anything else I watch, you don't need that. All right, so that's where we are. We'll get into how Tom Brady gave a great reveal on what the give back was on the football and ended up being pretty good. So
Still below value.
Below
but a
value.
Great deal. The guy
but I
walked
think-
in there with nothing. The people that are killing this guy, he went to a football game, and because Mike Evans in a split second hands him a football, he's now got a lot.
He's got a lot.
Doing great.
He's done just fine.
Great.
We'll go around the AFC North today. Coming up next, Ben Baby and what we've seen from Cincinnati. So you have that to look forward to, which is nice. We're off and running here on a Tuesday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski Show hits the road this week. Comes to you from West Park Station, presented by our friends at Bud Light. Join us Thursday night, 7 to 8, for giveaways, drink specials, and meet Browns legend Kevin Mack. It's this Thursday at 7, the Kevin Stefanski Show, live from West Park Station, presented by Bud Light. And with that, we head out on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy Ben Baby. Covers the Cincinnati Bengals for ESPN, and he joins us on the hotline. Well, this was kind of welcome to the world moment on Sunday in Baltimore with the way that the Bengals handled that business. If you've been paying attention to this team for much of the season, you knew that maybe some of this was coming, but I don't know if anybody would have predicted this, Ben. What was it like to be there in person and to see this team explode the way it did?
Truly stunning, if we're going to be quite honest. I got a lot of heat from Bengals fans for not only picking them to lose, but having the offense to go for yards. I thought that, given the inconsistencies in the Bengals offense that we had seen in the first, 6 games, and how Baltimore played Joe Burrow the first time, and really where that team stands, I thought that you had the recipe for the Ravens to have a pretty convincing victory, and it turned out to be the opposite. I think you've got to give Joe Burrow a ton of credit for handling the best that Wink Martindale, the Ravens defensive coordinator, could throw at him. I think you've got to give Jamar Chase a lot of credit for winning a ton of one-on-one battles against Marlon Humphrey. And then, I think Zach Taylor ultimately maybe deserves the most credit, because what a lot of people don't realize is this win was probably 3 years in the making. When you talk about how difficult it was for them going 2-14 in 2019, they having the league's worst record, that yielded Joe Burrow as the top overall pick in 2020, then having their lumps in Burrow's rookie season, and then having the season-ending injury, then answering a lot of questions about, do they really know how to build a roster that is worthy of having someone of Burrow's caliber? And so far, they have answered all the questions. And so for them to come out and do what they did against Baltimore was a sign that, it might be crazy to think, but this may be the team to beat in the AFC North.
They certainly are impressive. And just talk about, Joe Burrow's maturation here in year 2, coming back from that injury. And now he just is an elite quarterback. His ball placement is excellent. And as we like saying this show, the layups are layups. When he's got a throw that is to be made, he makes that throw, and he's making a lot of big-time throws as well.
Yeah, I think his pre-snap diagnosis has been remarkable, and it's been really good, his ability to identify, especially against Baltimore, a team that does such a great job of disguising their fronts, making everything look uniform, and then putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. Last year, he was blitzed a season-high 19 times, I believe, and had season-worst total QBR in the 10 games that he played last season, and really it was 9 because he got hurt in the 10th one. And for him to come out and just torch Baltimore the way he did, have a career high in passing yards, shows you the development that he has. And I think we also have to mention what Jamar Chase brings to the table as well, because the trust that he has with Burrow is evident. I think that Burrow knows that, I think he feels good with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, but with Jamar Chase especially, I think he feels that if he throws the ball in his general vicinity, Jamar will make something good happen. And right now, Jamar is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, which is just astounding. You look at it, I believe he's only second to Cooper Kupp in the league in total receiving yards. The amount of explosive plays he has, he might be first in the league in that regard. I think the Bengals are tied for first in the league for the most completions of 50 yards or more. All of this is just really a complete 180 from the team we saw in 2019 that just struggled to get any kind of momentum and wins.
You mentioned Jamar Chase. Randy Moss is taking notes, saying this guy is incredible. When you put up a game like that against Marlon Humphrey, everybody takes notice. Can you just kind of let our listeners know just the journey? And we were hearing reports the guy couldn't catch a football anymore. He'd forgotten how to catch. There was even there are no stripes on this ball, so he can't catch an NFL ball. He catches everything, and then once he does, look out. The slant, he spins out of 3 tackles, gone. I mean, he looks elite as it gets.
Yeah, a lot of people think this is contrived and it's just dumb beat writers in little old Cincinnati who are making this stuff up. And I assure you that's not the case here. I feel like we're pretty good at our jobs down here. And what happened, I mean, it was true, and it was actually longer than people realize. I mean, a lot of those comments and concerns started coming in training camp. This was before training camp. This was during mini camp, during OTAs. This was something that was prevalent throughout the offseason, and that he did have, some good reps. And Zach Taylor referenced yesterday the first route I saw him run in 7-on-7s. I knew that we had something special, but the drops were apparent. They were there. And then whenever they played in the preseason games, that was a window of what had been like for the entire offseason for him. And for him to come out and turn around and be, like you said, as elite gets, is a testament to the hard work that he's put in, the kind of ability to mentally put that behind him and focus on, what was the task at hand. And, he's had a couple drops throughout the season. He had one against Detroit that resulted in an interception, but then he turned around and had a very impressive performance. And then he did what he did on Sunday with 201 yards on 8 catches against a team like Baltimore. So he has definitely come a long way and is finding his groove and is feeling that comfort that has enabled him to be successful so far as a rookie.
It's amazing to see. I mean, he's come along you try to think of rookies who have come in and had this type of impact because he does he takes the top off the defense. You can throw it to him short. He creates. He makes people miss. He's been everything that they wanted. But another big part of this, and naturally you talk a lot about Burrow and Chase, but another big part of this is what they've done defensively. And they were pretty smart in free agency down there. They got one of our guys, Larry Ogunjobi, who we loved a lot up here and loved him as a person, loved him as a player, and he's doing a nice job. Logan Wilson at linebacker, I think he's second in the league in interceptions. The kid that you liked out of Wyoming, he's playing long well. They've got some guys that they got off the scrap heap, like Von Bell, who's a former Buckeye, who they and he's had a great start to his career. How have they put this defense together, and has that been as big of a contributor to where they are as what they're doing offensively?
That's probably the biggest contributor, if we're going to be quite honest. I mean, that defense, as the offense has struggled in games throughout the season, the defense has been the thing that has kept them in games. And when you look at any major metric, the defense is one of the best in the NFL. And what was fascinating is I think there was a lot of pressure on defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo after the first couple of years. I think there were a lot of people wondering if he should come back for a third year. And the Bengals, buckled down, and they said, these are our coordinators, him and Brian Callahan, who advises Zach Taylor, and Zach is the play caller. But Lou has answered the bell, to use a boxing analogy here, and this defense has done an incredible job, like you said. I think the front office, which is often maligned and criticized for various reasons, often pretty good ones, has done a really good job of identifying talent, identifying the right pieces that fit in this group. I think they feel that Larry Ogunjobi played out of position a little bit in Cleveland, and with him now playing more of a 3-tech, a traditional defensive tackle spot, he has been very disruptive upfield. Von Bell, like you said, has been a very good addition. And then Chidobe Awuzie was probably the unsung addition throughout the offseason. Everyone looked at him as a cornerback, and he was coming in to essentially replace William Jackson, who signed a very lucrative deal and is one of the hottest free agents this offseason, who ended up signing with Washington. And Awuzie has been one of the more productive corners in the entire league when you look at various metrics. And that has been a testament to kind of how this whole defense has looked. And if they are to continue playing this well and continue on this trajectory, the defense will need to continue this type of performance. And so far, it's been very impressive.
It has. Talking with Ben Baby. And Ben, for this Bengals team, it's easy to see what goes right? Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Uzoma having a nice game and mixing with that big rushing touchdown against the Ravens last week. This offense, it's easy to see why that is going well. The defense playing well, you mentioned. Where could it go wrong? What are the one things that maybe are the numbers are showing up, but they're overcoming it, taking injuries out of it? What's the one thing or two things that concern you that could derail this excellent start for the Bengals?
It's pretty simple. All it's going to take is one team getting out to a hot start, the defense struggling early, and the offense continuing to be inconsistent early in games. And the Bengals, fortunately for them, have not had to dig out of many holes against, Chicago. That's ultimately what did them in. They were not able to get that offense rolling in time. The defense gave up a touchdown on the first drive, and it was difficult for them to really come back from that. But that's going to be the thing. The offense is still lacking consistency in the first half. Tyler Boyd, the receiver, said, that's the one thing we've got to do. The thing that's really missing from this offense is we've got to play better, and we can't just wait until the final 2 minutes of the first half, because that's when it seems that they're really clicking. I don't know if it's just they're finding Jamar Chase or they're running tempo or whatever it is. That needs to happen earlier, and this defense, has to continue to play at this level, and that's asking a lot considering where they're at. So there's definitely room for there to be problems. I think the offensive line I think it's getting evaluated on a week-by-week basis, especially when I look at some of the pieces that are there. But there's definitely, I think there's a sense inside that locker room that they can't afford to be complacent. I mean, too many guys in that room, in that locker room, have known what it's like to be not just bad, but be the worst team in the NFL. And I think that is something that will benefit them moving forward, because they know how quickly you can be on the other side of the coin.
And I know you're not having to talk much about why did we take Chase over a left tackle anymore, which is nice. But we did want to ask you, how big was that Jacksonville game? It felt like that was a turning point type of a game, a pivot game, that if on Thursday night they dropped that one, who knows where we are right now, but that really kind of got them going.
Yeah, I would actually argue maybe a week before against Pittsburgh. I mean, that was a game where, they did beat them at the end of the year on Monday Night Football, and we could honestly turn back to that as being, something that has created the momentum, because since that Monday Night Football game at the end of the 2020 season with third-string quarterback Ryan Finley, the Bengals have won 7 out of their last 10 games, which is kind of astounding when you piece that together. But I think that Pittsburgh game this year, for them to go on the road and really dominate a team that has gotten the best of them since they knocked them out of the postseason in that contentious 2015 game that featured Devontae Burfict hit and all the other shenanigans that happened at the end of that game. I think for them that was a sign that they are here to compete, and almost each game seems like something of a measuring stick for this team when we're looking at where they can go. But I think you would even go back before that Jacksonville game and that Pittsburgh game really showed them that they can compete in this division and could potentially win it, and that Baltimore game further validates that belief. But they've got to take care of business against Cleveland, and also there have been a few things said by the folks in Cincinnati that I'm sure people in Baltimore and Pittsburgh will not appreciate, and I'm sure they will be especially ready for that rematch against the Bengals. So we'll see how the Bengals handle all of that.
Yeah, handling success, right? Ben, always a success when we have you on. Appreciate your time, bud.
Hey, thank y'all for having me.
All right, that's Ben Baby, covers the Bengals for ESPN. Yeah, it's really been an incredible thing that they've done, because it isn't – a lot of it's Chase and Burrow, but their defense has come a long way. And they've done a nice job all season long. You think about how well they've held the Packers down, the Ravens. They've done it all year. And it's kind of a patchwork way of putting the defense together. Some of it's their draft picks, some of it's bargain free agents, some of it's guys nobody else wanted. They've done a nice job.
I think they're top 5 in both total offense and total defense. And when you do that, you're in a very, very good spot. Just some of the numbers. Think about this. 27 points per game they're averaging. They're giving up 18.3 per game.
There you go.
That's a nice margin of victory. They've scored 23 touchdowns. Their opponents have scored 14. So this is, and you go back to total yardage and offense, they're outgaining their opponents by 30 yards a game and doing it on 50 fewer plays. So they've been efficient, and they're taking care of business in the most important ways. They've been a very, very good football team. I just think that's it, bottom line.
Yep, absolutely. We're a very good football team, too, and our next 5 are going to kind of prove that out. We'll take a temperature on the state of the offense and the defense through 7 and coming out of the mini-bye. That's coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hi, welcome back in. Cleveland Browns Daily. Imagine kicking back in the evening in your very own hot tub. You know, even in these conditions, the hot tub thrives. It thrives in these conditions. Northeast Factory
Thrives in every condition.
Every condition.
Might be the only thing.
Yeah, it is. It's probably the only thing. They buy them in bulk, of course, and they take everything you hate out of shopping. No big fancy showroom, annoying high-pressure salespeople. Northeast Factory Direct is a simple warehouse. Their sales staff doesn't work on commission. They pass the savings on to you. So if you've always wanted a hot tub but thought you couldn't afford it, you can. Specifically, if you go to Northeast Factory Direct, see for yourself. West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia, or you can shop them online at northeastfactorydirect.com. Before we get into the offense and defense, do you have when's the last time you guys had some hibachi? Been a while?
Yeah, because, I mean, that's –
the kids love it. So we went
probably
for the first time in a long time.
pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. It's the first time I'd gone since COVID.
wasabi's so solid, though.
So solid. So we went. I have a tried and true policy on hibachi.
Okay, I'm interested.
I've passed this along to my family. They promptly ignore all of it, and they fall into the same trappings every single time we go. And it's been a while, but we used to go. There was a place up at the lake that we used to go to.
We used to
quite
go
often.
all the time.
Yeah. So it's fun. Kids love it. The flames, especially if you get a guy who's into it, like a chef who's really jacked up. I mean, that's a win for everybody. I feel like you'd be the perfect person to go to hibachi with. I feel like
I
you'd
really
love the
enjoy
sake,
it. A lot of zest.
the zest.
Oh, yeah.
You have such a joy for life.
Count it down.
Yep.
Give me like 30.
Yes.
Try to get to 30.
Yeah. See, I knew it. I knew that this would be in your wheelhouse. So my plan on the hibachi is, and last night I went shrimp and scallop hibachi. So my thing is easy on the rice, Coach. Okay? Easy on the rice. So when he wants to give me a spatula full of rice, no. How about 20% of that? You load me up on the veggies. You load me up on the shrimp and the scallops. And then I'm a big ginger, light yum guy because I'm not a big yum guy. So that's the way I go on this.
Okay,
You're
first of
looking
all,
at
I go no rice at all. Rice doesn't even
Right.
enter my equation.
But they
maybe,
want you to because that's in the mix. Right.
Maybe I'll take a spoon of Miss K's fried rice because
the
one bite
fried
of fried
rice,
rice is
sure.
good. I'll take a bite of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the veggies. I always get multiple meats, multiple
Yeah.
proteins, and I'm exclusive to ginger. I don't even get
You
that
get thing out of there.
mayo-based sauce as far away
Right.
from me as possible.
Yeah.
Now, the percentage of people that are double ginger sauce versus the percentage of people that are double yum, it's like
9-1 yum.
for every one of me, I'd say 100. There are 100 other
might-
patrons.
I think
would
you're
go
right.
double
In fact,
yum
at
yum.
the table last night, I was the only one who even had ginger.
Right.
Everybody else went all yum.
Which is
Gibby, what do you do?
Give me a little ginger. Give me a lot of
A
yum.
lot of the yum.
of course he wants yum.
Naturally.
Give me an extra.
This is a
Don't
big,
short
safest bet in
me.
Vegas.
Your tip will be impacted if you shortchange
right.
me on the yum.
Fair.
So the
that's
only
right.
carbs I get would be at wasabi because I don't mind a little bit of the noodles. They throw those noodles in there.
Yeah.
That's a nice little treat. But yeah, I'm with you. That's how it's got to be. And the other thing that kills me sometimes about a wasabi is watching somebody take a beautiful steak and get it like extra well done and then throw yum on it and I'm like,
What just happened?
why are we doing this?
Yeah. So I don't and this is the last part of my philosophy is I don't touch the food until it's all done. So you're not going to see me running into you're not going to see me. You see a lot of people running into the rice or the noodles.
No
getting
rice,
at the,
definitely
I
not.
understand, but
No
in a
way.
normal scenario,
no, I hear you.
As soon as the food hits the plate, people want to get into it, and the chefs even encourage you to. Oh, go ahead, eat up. No. I'll wait till the end. I'll make my mixture at the end, right? So last night, I'm waiting, and I'm watching my 3 sons and my wife as they are failing.
Just wasting
miserably.
space.
And just eating.
on
I'm
elite
watching
products.
Bootsy just crush this fried rice. And I'm going, there's no way that he's going to get to the steak. There's no chance he's getting to the
Sad.
steak at the end. He's not going to be hungry. So at the end of the night, it's time to go. I'm looking at 4 plates just full of food that nobody could eat. No human could eat that much food. And it's all because, you want more rice? Yeah, here's another spatula of rice. No, I don't.
No rice.
I don't want any more
Don't
rice.
waste your room.
Yeah, that's it. You have to, and hibachi is a big commitment. It's an expensive night out. I mean,
It is. Yes.
It's a full price. It's a full day.
Yeah.
So why are we paying this to eat rice, kids?
We're not.
I was so upset with them.
Yeah, and then you get
Couldn't even
people
look them in the face.
To-go,
are we
like
doing?
soon would get to-go boxes, and then I'm like, but you didn't eat us when it was freshly prepared for you and good. Like, I'll eat veggies as they come, and sometimes if you get a steak and you get like the steak and lobster, let's say, sometimes they just come at different times. So if the lobster comes first,
Right.
I want to eat that while it's hot. But I'm not wasting anything on carbs. It's like if you go to Fogo de Chao, which is a tremendous.
I've never eaten at a Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh my God, Fogo de Chao is great. Well, here I will give you my tip there. Their salad bar is awesome, and they put a lot of good stuff over there from, whether it be shrimps and this, that, whatever, all these tantalizing things to get yourself a little bit of greens, have it just what you're here. The main event is happening at your table. It is not happening at that salad bar.
Number one mistake made at a buffet.
Nothing to do there.
You get tied down on the salad. Salad fills you up, and then you're not eating enough.
Then you're not eating the meal.
Yep.
I like that.
I like a good salad.
Yeah.
But
on the Brazilian, they cook that at your place there? That's how that works?
No, so it comes in, you'll have like a disc. It's green or red. Green means they walk around with meat on spits, and green means, yeah, I'm into that. So then they come to the table, and they'll cut you a little top sirloin, a little filet, a little monkey butt.
They just keep
a little
coming.
pork,
Like, hey,
a little
would you
lamb.
Like this?
You want this?
Would
Yeah,
you like
if you're
this?
green. Then we don't want them to come red. The other thing, they're going to throw these amazing – Fogo de Chao is unbelievable.
Is there one here?
Yeah.
Is there a Fogo here?
I don't know.
There
if there's
was
one,
on the
Brazilian
east side
steakhouse,
for a
there's
while.
one downtown, isn't there?
Yeah, there's the Texas de Brazil. Fogo de Chao is like the
There's
Ritz
one in
of these
one
places, though.
in Indy that I've always wanted to go to.
Fogo de Chao to me is the Ritz-Carlton of this type of eating. It's elite. One time in college, me, my dad, Zago, and Danny, the 4 Zegura boys, went out to Fogo, and they told us that the only group of people they've ever seen do what we did that night were the Falcons' offensive line, which we were very, very pleased with. But there's also, they give you some great cinnamon plantains, like that are real good. Ignore them.
Yes.
They are there to fill you
my
up and keep you away from the meats.
Yeah, look
We-
over
Pittsburgh's
here.
the
Don't look
closest.
over here. You got to
Fogo's
Dave.
legit.
Fogo's Pittsburgh's the closest.
Now, what you will get, though, is
there
what we
one
like to
in
call
Indy?
the meat sweats. You will
oh,
wake
there's
up.
one in Indy. If we go back to the Combine,
We'll do a Fogo night.
then we'll do a Fogo night at
I'd
the
be
Combine.
into it.
I'll go to Fogo out in Pittsburgh while Zegura hangs at the hotel. It'll be great.
Well, maybe the bar we're at on Thursday will have a little Brazilian steakhouse since you can't
I
eat
can
at
go
Pittsburgh.
there.
You can go there
I
and you
can
can
go
eat
there.
the steak.
There you go.
You can do it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
I
the
like where your
difference?
head's at.
Yeah, that's right.
Smart.
Yeah, that's savvy. Yeah, I was so disappointed in them. So disappointed.
Listen, the world.
What are we doing? And the lady came out at the end and she's got 3 ice creams. They had already left because we had to go pick up my car. So they had already left. It was just me and the oldest there. They come there with 3 ice creams. His eyes are this big.
The
What are we
world
doing?
goes round on the back of marks, right? And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but that's wrestling. Anything,
Yes.
that's a term. But it's because look here, do this, and you're not getting the maximum value out of
The one
place.
thing, the only pushback I will say is they're still cooking all the meat.
They are, and you're
So-
taking
so-
it home, but
Or
you're hurting
not,
yourself.
You're hurting yourself. You're not hurting. The restaurant's still cooking it.
No, sure.
They're still cooking all of it. So it's not like they're saying eat this, then you won't eat the good stuff. That's not happening.
No, they are cooking.
They're cooking
it's
it.
prepared. At Fogo, that's where they're trying to get you. But
I got to
it's
get
just-
into that mix. We
Oh,
got to do that.
it's
in
a
Indy.
real
We gotta
treat.
get that done. All right, our offense and defense coming out of the mini bye. Where are we health wise? We know JOK is still down this week, but this week will be very telling
Yeah.
on that front. We know Nick Chubb practiced. That's a positive. Jed obviously. Conklin practiced on Monday. Nobody's here today, but that's kind of where you're at. It will be from a health standpoint. Is kind of how you judge it because I don't. To me, it's incomplete based on the MASH unit we've played with the last couple of weeks.
The biggest question facing this offense, obviously, is the health and state of Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, that's the number one question for us going forward. There are a lot of people that believe he will be ready to go this Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are others who believe that he will not. That's the big question. I think what D'Ernest has shown you is that with Nick coming back, even by himself, our running game was still in good hands. But with Nick coming back, our running game, as long as he got 2 of the 3, is he Kareem Hunt? Somebody asked me this today. I think he will play the Kareem Hunt role in this offense.
D'Ernest?
Yes.
Yeah.
But maybe not to the full extent of that. And what I mean by that is they're very comfortable getting near the goal line and taking Nick Chubb out and putting Kareem Hunt in because he's just really, really good at it, which is why he leads the team with 5 rushing touchdowns. I don't see Nick Chubb being pulled at the 3 so that you can get the ball in D'Ernest's hands.
Well, my guess would be that the carry split I'm sorry, let me rephrase. The touches split when Hunt and Chubb are both healthy is pretty close to 50-50.
Yep.
It might be 55-45 Chubb, but it's really close, I would say, in terms of touches. And I haven't looked that up.
So for the
I've done
year,
none of the research, but my guess is it's pretty close.
Kareem's played one game without Nick.
Yeah.
And for the year, Nick has 95 touches and Kareem has 89. So, I mean, that's
pretty close. 60-40, 55-45, something like
Yes.
that. That's what you're looking at on that front. That I don't think that would be the scenario if you have a healthy Nick Chubb on Saturday against
it's
Pittsburgh.
more
70-30 or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's a heavy reliance on Nick Chubb. But Dearness has obviously proven that he can do anything and play at a very, very high level. It's just that the two running backs ahead of him are both top 5 in the NFL. But, yeah, it is the Baker question. And this is something that's going to be really difficult because he wants to play. I don't think there's any question he's going to want to play. He's a competitor. I think he probably wanted to play last week. He's probably trying to play through all of this stuff. But you have to decide, and I don't have the answer to this. This isn't scores, kids. But you have to decide if you're Kevin Stefanski, what's the best thing for this team this week and for my franchise quarterback long term.
Yep.
Because, look, it's Steelers week, and this is a monster Steelers game. It's a monster Steelers game. It's a big one. And then it's followed with Cincinnati. So this is 2 monster divisional games back-to-back. But this team also plans on playing in January.
Yep.
And you have to have an eye on that too. So and I know that that's tricky because you're
gotta
living
get
in
there.
the moment. You got to get there. But these are questions that you want to ask. Is a fully prepared Case Keenum with 2 weeks of practice, getting all the reps and a game plan built around him, better than trying to get Baker to a percentage point where he can be 80? He's not going to be 100%. It's impossible. He's got a shoulder problem, big shoulder problem.
Yeah.
So he's never going to be what he is. Is 80% of Baker better than 100% of Case Keenum until Baker gets closer to that 90%? He's never going to be 100. That's the question that has to be answered this week.
Yeah, and I think that's what really the focus is, and I think that's the main kind of bar for this offense. Look, the Browns have the number 9 overall offense in the NFL in terms of yards per game, 393.4. You're the number 1 rushing offense in the league, averaging 170.4 per game. I'd like this to be a little bit better of a scoring offense. Right now we're at 24, so we're down more in the middle. In fact, after their beatdown of the Jets, the Patriots averaging more points per game than us on the season at 25.6. We're 24.7. Same as the LA Chargers, a very good offense. Same as the Green Bay Packers, a very good offense. The other question is, what's the line you feel better about? Conklin's back at practice. So you've kind of weathered the storm there. Then the next question is wide receiver. And now, here's the thing at wide receiver. Odell's banged up. Jarvis is banged up. DPJ is banged up.
That gets lost in the wind, but that he was right before kick out.
Right before kick.
Did not
Happened
see
pregame.
that
I talked
coming,
to
yeah.
him, and he was very disappointed. I mean, that's another thing. You got to give Chad O'Shea credit. You're running different wide receivers and looks and groupings than you expected to run. DPJ leads our wide receivers in snap percentage by a wide margin and was last second unavailable. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones still leads your receiving core in yards, and he's only seen 15 passes.
Crazy.
Donovan Peoples-Jones has 15 targets on the season, okay? Everybody else, here's a stat. Anthony Schwartz, 15 targets. Landry, 14 targets. Higgins, 21 targets. Odell, 33 targets. DPJ, 15 targets. Here are their yards. DPJ, 15 targets, 13 catches, 228 and 2. Odell, 33 targets, 16 catches, 226 and 0. Hollywood, 21 targets, 12 catches, 141 yards and 1. Jarvis, 14 targets, 11 catches, 117. And then Schwartz, 15 targets, same as DPJ, 7 catches, 102.
How many receivers do we have on the season who have more yards than Jamar Chase had last weekend?
How many did he have? 2 what?
201. 2?
DPJ, Beckham, and the Chief.
And Chief, yeah.
By the way, how about Kyle Pitts?
Yeah.
Speaking of another rookie.
It's just
that production from those two.
right. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable what both those guys are. But this is what you thought that they would be capable of. I mean, it's not quite to this level, but yeah.
He's at what? Chase is at 700 something.
Chase is 760 or something like
Pitts
that.
as a tight end is 666 with a bye.
Pitts is at 666.
I think so. Is that the record? Or is it 466?
No, I think it's 466.
The last 2 weeks
because he had 2 catches for 30.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's not.
Last 2 weeks.
Chase's worst game was like 90 or
Yeah.
78. I mean, he hasn't had anything low. So that's But no, he's coming along. The Ridley injury forced Ryan to throw him the ball, and now he's got it going.
By the way,
which they
keep
should have
doing
done
it
from Jump Street.
Yeah.
By the way, that team's 3-3. That Falcons team, the gutless Falcons.
Should be better than that.
Yeah,
by
should
the
be.
way.
Not worse. Jared asks us, what is our take on chips and salsa at Mexican? I have a strategy on this too.
I have banned places openly for those that charge for chips and salsa.
That I'm fully against.
I would say this, though, because they're running a business too. And so if you're just somebody who just keeps gumming with the chips and salsa.
Don't worry. I'm going to bring my appetite.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to bring the A game to the menu. But
like I've seen people just want to crush the
skip
chips
on
and
the
salsa
chips and
and
salsa.
drink. My thing would be, well, my strategy on it is give me one and then I'm done.
Then don't bring it back.
Don't bring it back. Give me one and then we're out.
If you're going in hungry, though, it's nice. And I got to get some guac, too. So it's nice to have some chips with some guac and some salsa with the first
my
margarita.
kid likes a little queso.
I love a
Gotta
queso.
do the
Yeah,
queso with some chorizo in it.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, queso's a win for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, chips and salsa, absolutely. But
Yeah.
there was a place, no names, might have got under, and I was like,
They were trying to
I'm
charge
sad,
on it.
but you were charging for chips and salsa.
What street was it on?
Nope. Not today, Big Daddy.
Was it more in my neck of the woods or in your neck of the woods?
Not today.
Not today. Yeah. You got to be careful with that. I think the first one, maybe the first two is on the house, and then after that,
That's fine.
there's a
But
charge.
the initial
After two,
chip and
The
salsa.
initial
good. I'm ready.
chip and salsa at Mexican is akin to a bread at any place else.
Yep.
So to me, that's just part of it. Sit down, put it there. If you don't want it, that's up to you. But then if you want to order more of it, I don't have a problem with them saying, look, if you're gonna have 6 bowls of chips,
I do want a little extra salsa when the meal comes because I like to
I don't have a problem
put
with that.
little extra salsa on the.
I don't have a problem with that.
I like to sauce things up.
I bet you do, Gibby.
Well, you know,
Do a
it's a
little.
Tuesday. We'll keep it clean for the kids.
That's right. We'll go a little higher, lower, better, worse coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You guys are down. We're stacking.
EOX Vantage is the local presence, but that global footprint entrusted by some of the world's very biggest brands. This is a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Scheel. He is the vice president of Skyward Specialty Insurance. He says the tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers. They open the door for us to all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, and cut way down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, and cut hours off processes and response times. Operationally, it is a brand new ballgame for us, and it can be for you too. I encourage you to learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616. Time for a little higher or lower, better or worse. Sweet spot.
Give it. Hola.
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
Are we going to be able to work that in, Gibbe? The beautiful sounds of
Totally forgot to upload that one.
Jade McRae? Currently
She's in Indy.
I
In
forgot
Indy?
that she had done that one. I had the Joe Thomas one. I forgot about the other one. I'm sorry, Jade.
That's all right.
No, there's
No,
guess
I
what?
apologize to Jade,
It's
not
back.
to you two.
It's back next week.
To
Well,
her.
we accept your
I
apology.
feel like we speak for her.
Yeah.
Higher, lower, better, worse, or the sweet spot.
Paulus for the sage.
Paulus, huge.
I got you guys.
What a job out
Wow.
of Paulus. Holy
Man.
Paulus, I did not see that coming. Well done.
Wow.
cow. Wow.
Not just a pretty face, guys.
Hold up the
Wow.
big P
Well,
for
you're that too,
Paulus.
though. Get him
Hey,
a
don't
big
sell
P.
yourself
Giant
short. You're
P.
a tremendous
Giant
slouch.
P.
There we go.
Gibbe gets a little P.
Totally.
Paulus.
It's fine. It's
Big
fair.
P.
I fully
Gibbe.
Gibbe. Paulus. Yes.
That's
Love it.
fair. It's duly.
It's fair.
It's a
fair.
just rule.
It is. It is just. I like things that are just.
Higher or lower? Brought to you by our
I
great
like that
friends
the
at the
sticks are
Ohio
back.
Lottery.
Yeah.
The sticks being back. I'm a big fan of the sticks back.
Huge fan. Those
hate
are
them
from
also.
Brown's Therapy.
Of course they are.
He was pumped to see we still had. Of course, we still have them.
There are so
things
many
around.
things in those drawers on the side of this monstrous
Oh, man.
desk.
Well, there was a time we were under the yoke of tyranny on this program. No longer.
No longer.
Unfettered.
Back. They sat here lonely. Lonely peas.
By the way, there's been discussions
Oh, no.
about changing the desk.
Wait, what?
Oh, jeez.
Can't just drop a bomb like that.
I just did.
Will you have some actual
literally got
input
pulled into a
as
meeting
opposed
the
to
other
your fake input that we always criticize you for?
What's that?
Will you have actual input this time?
I
in
started
terms of-
rattling off a list, and
the
they were
things
like,
that are
whoa,
important?
whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, the answer is yes.
On,
I'm
off,
all about
cough.
On,
it.
off, cough. Would be nice. All
Yeah.
of the things.
Mics that are on those things that like
Yeah.
flex and move. Yeah.
Well, we still have all that. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we just can't drill through whatever the
Plexiglass.
heck it is. That
Maybe
you're- yeah.
interesting. What is your ideal shape, Gibby?
Have that guy do it.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Did you see the
Popping
pop?
collars? Popping the collars on the
Have him
the
do it.
quilted swaggin'. Let's go.
Jeez.
Let's
Have
get
him
this
be
elite.
senior
Yeah,
swag
get him
needs to be
involved.
part of it. Needs to
Any
involve
design team.
any
get him involved.
anything aesthetically pleasing needs senior swag.
I feel like someone of his caliber would have had to have signed off.
Do you know what our you know what our chairs would be like if senior swag was involved?
Oh my God, leather bound.
Leather bound, probably
I believe we
a
had
red
those
leather.
back at one time, and they were too comfortable. We had to get them out of the studio.
So good.
Oh yeah,
We were
That
still doing
chair-
a radio show, Zegura.
that chair didn't work. It was too comfortable. Said no one ever.
Well,
Nobody's falling asleep.
I want to be like those kids. You guys see the kids, the college kids go to the Alabama game that light up the cigars? So they're crushing Tennessee and they light up victory cigars in the end zone. I don't even like cigars. I just like so much of the idea behind a
Yeah,
cigar.
yeah.
Like the attitude around them I think is so great. I just think they suck.
The attitude.
Yeah, it's
Brett.
it.
You gotta have the attitude.
It is. It's like such a
I'm not big stogie guy.
No, I'm not either. I think they're terrible. And everybody thinks I should.
Yeah,
Not.
it's because of the bourbon. I'm telling you.
And the wealth.
That's why you'll
Well,
be.
Goes without saying. On
That's why you'll
90%
never
of the things.
You'll never be a full Nance.
It's too easy.
Full Nance.
No, never.
'Cause
No, living
he's
at Pebble
graced
Beach.
the cover of Cigar Aficionado.
Aficionado. Boy,
yeah.
that's a magazine you always liked, didn't you, when you'd see that? It was a heavy
Yeah.
a gloss to
Just
it.
felt like, and
you
there's
turn
lots
a
of
page.
man ads.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
is what men do.
Yeah, I always felt like there was that family, and I know that you've looked at one of these, so I'm sure you guys know. There's the one family where it's like the dad, the brother, and the sister and they're from, I want to say, Honduras, and they all look great, and they all have those cigars, and you just think, God, what a life.
They're just killing it.
That life's fantastic.
Yeah. Feels like
Nice
peak
rum.
Pablo. Like, it feels like they're living like
Peak Pablo, yeah. How long was he peak before he had to go on the run?
Didn't feel like very long.
No, and he had the run. Now he's got the renegade hippos down there. You hear about this? You read about this?
No.
So he brought all those hippos in
Yeah.
for his zoo,
Yeah.
and they're just invasive disasters
They're running them up.
in Colombia. It's a mess.
Well, that's the last thing you want to
Yeah.
come across.
Yeah, it's one thing. Like we have the invasive pigs around here. A hippo is a whole other thing.
Well, they will kill a man
That's right.
easily. And if you are lucky to survive, they also will spin their tail like a propeller and shoot poop at you at a high rate.
Is that verifiable?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen it at Animal Kingdom.
Have
in
you?
Disney World.
Interesting.
Yeah, it goes, it spins like this. And then all of a
Are
sudden
you
it's
sure? Was this at a bachelor party?
This was there with my children. Thanks. Very lucid.
It's a valid
Very
question
lucid.
because I believe that you have been.
That's right.
It's like
very
when
lucid.
Larry got in a fight with, I think it was with Richard Lewis. He's like, "You've been drunk your whole life. I've never had a drop. I'm lucid." I'm telling you, look it up.
That's what happens when we have too much time in between
Beautiful.
games.
No, this is win.
Yeah.
Everybody's winning now.
Higher or lower, brought to you
All
by our great friends at the Ohio Lottery. The ESPN NFL Nation Week 8 Power Rankings are out. We'll get to the Browns here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
I figure maybe we should start and work our way down to them.
I already have a problem. You want to start at the top or start at the bottom?
We're in the NFL here. We're on ESPN, rather, right?
Yes. ESPN.com. Paulus, hit it.
Higher or lower?
Number 1 is Arizona. Number 2, Tampa Bay. That takes us to number 3, and the Los Angeles Rams, 6-1. Higher, lower, or just right, Zegura?
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with them being right there. I think that might be sweet spot. Now, you would say, Nathan, they beat the Bucs earlier this year.
Yeah.
So could they be number 2? Yes, but I'm going by the way that I handle this is right now, neutral field, one game. Who's the Vegas favorite? I'm still guessing the Vegas favorite's going to be Bay Area Brady and the Bucs, Tampa Bay. So I think that they are right there. I don't know that there's anybody else neutral field right now favored over these Rams.
Bishop.
Although, can I say one real quick?
Yeah.
Real quick. Stafford is putting up great numbers, but he is missing like 4 throws a game where he could be putting up bonkers numbers.
I haven't watched them closely since the Buccaneers game was the last time I watched them closely. So I'll reserve judgment on that, but I do trust you and your expertise. I don't know
Cooper
that
Kupp is
he's doing a lot.
elite.
Yeah. And for everybody who owns Robert Woods, you're going, can I get one game? Just one game like that. I think it's the sweet spot. But the one thing I wanted to give you guys was this. In terms of the Buccaneers' remaining schedule, okay? They have one loss right now. At New Orleans this week,
That's a win.
bye week,
That's a win.
Washington football team,
That's a win.
Giants,
That's a win.
at Colts,
That's a win.
at Falcons,
That's a win.
Buffalo at home,
That's probably a win.
Saints at home,
Definitely a win.
Carolina,
Total win.
at Jets,
Complete win.
Carolina.
That's a win.
That's it. That's the
God.
list. Are they going 15-2?
Arizona better
14
keep
and
winning
3?
at that rate. The Rams better keep winning at that rate.
How do we
How in the
get-
hell do they close out? Carolina, Jets, Carolina.
How do we get into that division?
How's that
Where's
possible?
that schedule?
Carolina, Jets, Carolina, defending Super Bowl champions. Your last 3 games.
Could that be, though, the Deshaun Watson-led Carolina Panthers?
It might be. It
1
could
week
be.
from today.
That would
we'll
make
know.
it a heck
I
of
mean,
a lot
that
more
is
interesting.
So and then this stretch they're in the middle of. Look at this stretch they're in the middle of. Dolphins, Eagles, Bears, Saints, Washington, Giants.
They're almost not fun to watch. They're that good.
Well,
Unless
but
they're playing an elite team, they're almost.
You think
not
about you could play.
watchable.
Gibby, compare them to if they were in the NFC West,
Yeah.
or the AFC North. I mean, this is.
hot garbage.
I don't know what the over under is for them if you could get it right now, but if it's like 11.5, I would go
Oh,
over.
my God. It can't be. I mean, they're seeing what we're seeing.
I would think.
I would think.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, number 3 are the Rams. 4 are the Packers. 5 the 4-2 Buffalo Bills. The Cowboys 5-1 are at 6. And number 7, the first team in the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals at 5-2. Higher, lower, or just right, Bishop? We will start with you.
Man, I don't like being sweet spot just right guy all the time, but this is probably where they deserve to be. They've lost 2 close games. They've lost to the Packers. They lost to the Bears, which is a weird one. But, you say, all right, well, who's playing really well? Tennessee's playing really well, but they lost to the Jets. So they've got a bad one on their resume, too, in terms of the 2 lost teams. They beat the Ravens head-to-head at their place. They got to be rated ahead of them. So then you further down, is it Chargers, like on a neutral field with the Chargers?
That was
that's
the one
probably
that
the
jumped
coin
out
flip.
to me. Yep.
But the Chargers went to Baltimore and got absolutely beasted,
Waxed.
and they just went to Baltimore and beasted them. So it's
Could've been a
probably
letdown
appropriate.
game.
No, weird things happen. I get it.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably where they deserve to be right now.
I just think we're sitting here, and we've been so excited about the AFC. I mean, 5 of your top 6 teams on this list are NFC. Like, that tournament could be amazing. But then it's all AFC.
It's junk.
Yeah.
5 of the top 6,
Yep.
and then junk.
Yep. Well, there isn't another NFC team. You got New Orleans at 13. Sheesh Louise. Come on. New Orleans, he's got New Orleans in this power poll. Are you getting to them? New Orleans is ranked ahead of. I don't care how many games in a row the Chiefs have lost and how bad they looked. They are not being favored over the Chiefs on a neutral field.
They play the Giants this week.
Or
And
the Colts.
I think the number is 10.5. They're favored by 10.5 over the Giants. Kansas City
That feels
is.
appropriate. All right, I think the Bengals, again, they're good, and they're all in that discussion. I think all the teams in the AFC that are listed, which would be the 1, 2,
All the way to us at 12.
4, 5, 6, 7. Those 7 all could represent the AFC, and counting I'd even count the Chiefs in that, could end up representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. I think there are 8 teams in the AFC that could legit represent the AFC.
I don't have a problem with that.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, so we've already kind of touched on Tennessee and a little bit on Kansas City as well. So let's just go right to the Browns at number 12. In front of them, the Raiders at number 11, the Chargers at 10, the Titans at 9, the Ravens at number 8. Behind, the Saints at 13, the Chiefs at 14, the Squealers at 15. Zegura, higher, lower, just right.
We're talking Tennessee here?
No,
Us.
the
Us?
Browns. Thanks for paying attention.
All right, well, you had next on the list is Tennessee. I'm going off of your rundown, pal.
Yeah, but you didn't listen when I
Well,
said
that's because
we're
I'm
gonna jump
reading
down.
and preparing my discussion for Tennessee, which is next on the list. That's why I was
Trying
curious.
to speed things up, kids.
All right.
We got a lot to get to before 2:30.
It feels right to me. I mean, I don't want to overstate us right now. I think we've got to go out there and we've got to prove it and we've got to earn it and we've got to beat the Steelers and then we beat them and we beat the Bengals. Then we can talk about that we should be back into the top 8 teams in the league right now. But a lot of questions. We went through the state of the offense right now. There are a lot of questions on this offense.
I think that based on where you are right now, it's appropriate. And I think it shows the amount of respect that teams for us have around the league and the media has for us around the league that we're that rate. Did you look at who's not playing or banged up? I mean, it's a lot of belief in system, depth of talent. You've played without a lot of your most important players this season. So to be there is fair. It's appropriate. You couldn't have us – like if we played Kansas City right now, neutral,
We're not favored.
we're not favored in that game, even though what's happened to Kansas City. And they've got real problems. Like it's not – they're not fake problems. They got real problems. They're doing some stuff just – he is pressing. He's not taking the easy stuff. Everything he's trying to do is trying to throw a home run on every route. They can't run it, and they can't stop the runs. They got big problems.
Huge
But
problems.
they still have him, and
Right.
so if it was a neutral field, they'd be favored.
Right.
Next.
Higher or lower?
I always pick a couple teams down in the bottom just to talk about little dumpster fire action. So we'll jump all the way down to number 19. The Atlanta Falcons, 3-3, Beau Bishop's favorite team.
Gutless.
Yeah,
Higher, lower,
they showed some
or
guts.
just right.
I'll tell you, Minnesota's too low on this list. They got
Way too
Minnesota
low.
17. Minnesota ought to be Minnesota and New Orleans should be inverted.
That's right.
They should swap out. Who are we doing? Falcons at 19?
Yeah, your
I can't
gutless
believe
Falcons.
you missed an opportunity to parade at 20 on the 49ers.
I mean, I do that daily. I mean, the groundswell is pretty large.
Yeah, Orlovsky even chiming in.
Jeez, this is just the no man's land of NFL. Gibby, I hate this, but I have to be honest. I think it's sweet spot. I can't move them up. I can't move them down.
They're beating the Patriots in a
Are
Super
they?
Bowl rematch. Yes.
I don't
Yes,
know
they
that.
are.
I don't know if they are. I
think
don't know if they are.
The Patriots. We can't act like the Patriots are good because they stomped the
We
Jets.
can't act like the Falcons are good because they beat the Dolphins and almost gave it all the way back.
the Dolphins.
True.
They took
That's
a
true.
it took a
That's true.
field goal
It's
to win
fact.
it. The Dolphins are the most gutless team in the league.
I'm just more excited about Ridley and
But that's
Pitts
from a
than
fantasy
anybody on
perspective. But they suck. Falcons are no good.
I
They
like it.
they are no
I like
good.
it, Bishop. I like the anger.
By the way,
Yeah.
Mac Jones, you see his numbers?
I have seen these numbers. Yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I just watch them though. It's just maybe I'll just have to adjust my. None of it looks good.
No. But I mean, he's what 72% of his passes the last 6 games.
Yeah, he's averaging 9 yards per attempt. Hopefully, you have a high completion percentage. That'll happen. I'll say this though, Gibby. Are we going to do the DLD?
Yeah, you want to do that
Yeah,
one next?
this is outrageous.
This is outrageous.
This
Let's
is an
go.
outrageous
Final one.
ranking. Absolutely
Higher or
outrageous.
lower?
Detroit is ranked 32nd at 0-7. Should they be higher? Because they
Yes.
can't go any lower.
Yes, significantly.
I agree.
I take them over the Texans. I take them over the Jets. I take them over the Jags. I probably take them over the Dolphins right
Yep,
now.
keep going.
And you could,
One more.
You could
No,
maybe.
well,
I'd probably take them
Giants.
over the Washington football
I take
team.
him over football team right
Yeah.
now.
Maybe the Eagles. The
Eagles
Eagles are
right now.
trash.
Yes, I take him over the Panthers right now.
Geno Smith-led Seahawks
Yes.
right now. Sure.
Right now, yes. Move them up.
Chokes,
Move 'em up.
They're competitive in every game.
They're playing hard, man. They play hard.
They're
I
biting
love what
kneecaps.
I love what they did against the Rams, where they did everything. They tried everything. Every fake punt,
Historic
onside
loss
kick.
in that regard.
It really was. I mean, they did everything that they could to try and get that win. But they play hard for their coach. They're competent. Yeah, I mean, they've been slumped once, I think, but
yes.
but still, I mean,
By the Bengals.
they have a lot more heart than
They're the
lot of these
craziest
teams on the
craziest two-play sequence maybe ever.
Correct.
Probably be a little hyperbole, but 4th and 19 with one play to get into field goal range for Justin Tucker to make the longest field goal in NFL history off of the stanchion and in.
Yes.
Like, that is nuts. No, that one, I'm glad you put that on there because that upset me. On DLD, we've been bemoaning this fact repeatedly, but they're not good, but they're not the worst team in the NFL.
No.
They've got at least some spirit, some zest,
A little bit of juice.
a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Good job out of you, Gibbe. We'll go
Great
around the
job.
league. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Lots of bad advice out there about gambling, from secret methods to picking lottery numbers to betting big when you're on a roll. These myths can lose you money and get you in a lot of trouble. So before you wager, find out what's real and what isn't at keepitfunohio.com. Interesting day over in Pittsburgh. So yesterday, Carson Palmer was on the Dan Patrick Show and basically gave a list of names for the USC job. Among them, former NFL coach Jeff Fisher, Franklin, who's the coach at James Franklin, who's the coach at Penn State.
That's what I think of Jeff Fisher.
Field goal, yeah. 7-9, the rant on Hard Knocks is what I think of. Who else did he have in that? He had Franklin, Luke Fickell, and then Matt Campbell at Iowa State. And then he also mentioned Mike Tomlin.
He sure did.
As a potential. Mike Tomlin was asked about that at his press conference today. Let's have a listen.
Hey, guys, I don't have time for that speculation. I mean, that's a joke to me. I got one of the best jobs in all of professional sport. Why would I have any interest in coaching college football? That'll be the last time that I address it. And not only today, but moving forward. Never say never, but never. Okay? Anybody else got any questions about any college jobs? There's not a booster with a big enough blank check. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. Anybody asking Sean Payton about that? Anybody asking Andy Reid about stuff like that?
You're up.
Oh, that's interesting tone at the end because, it's not like it's just – but he wouldn't know probably. I mean, Carson Palmer is the reason that he was asked.
Yes.
It's not like Carson Palmer brought up Sean Payton's name, and then Sean Payton would have been asked.
By the way, they were asking Sean Payton about coaching Dallas half the time he's been in New Orleans.
Right. So, yeah, I don't think that there's the line at the end was a little surprising, like as if he was being singled out for no reason. I mean, Carson Palmer brought his name up. Whatever Carson Palmer knows, I don't know, but that's why they were being asked of that. Here's the thing. Coaching college football now is a lot different than it used to be. Yes, you can make, in many instances, more money than you can in pro, but the headaches are immense. You have, for the first time in the last couple of years, you have free transfer. Kid can leave anytime he wants for no reason, and you can't stop him. They can play right away someplace else, which is the way it should be.
Of course.
But forever it wasn't that way.
Yes.
So the coaches had all the power. You've got to recruit constantly. Year-round, it never stops. You have a signing day in the middle of December. In the middle of bowl preparation, you have the most important signing day. So who the heck wants to do that when you don't have to in the NFL? And you have good teams that you control. So those two things. And the third thing is name, image, and likeness. Ohio State's got this kid, Quinn Ewers, who was a number one quarterback recruit who reclassified this year and is at Ohio State. He's signed about $2 million worth of endorsement deals.
Didn't he just come just so he could do that?
Yeah. And he was the number one quarterback in the country playing at South Lake Carroll in Dallas. It's very possible that he never takes a snap for Ohio State. And Ryan Day has to deal with that. So you think Mike Tomlin, who doesn't have to deal with any of that nonsense, wants to? Why would you?
Where do you think Quinn is going to take snaps?
I'm not saying he won't, but I think it's possible that he doesn't.
If I was him, I would just go to Clemson. They're in dire straits.
Well, the kid at Clemson was the number one quarterback 2 years ago. Like most people had him projected to go number one in the draft next year. DJ Uiagalelei. Yeah.
Fallen on his face,
he
unfortunately.
Has. Yeah. He has.
But the good news for him, it's good for him.
But he made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money on the hype, so at least he's got himself some type of a setup.
Yeah. So I can't see it. Fisher's 63, so I can't see that either. I can't see USC wanting to hire.
I don't see him getting in a room and convincing anybody that.
Well, apparently he's a hell of a salesman. Laurinaitis played for him, and he said he was ultimate players coach, like the nicest guy. He goes, he would crush the living room. Like in front of a kid, he would absolutely crush it. But I just think at 63, it's hard for me to imagine him doing that.
Yeah. By the way, Gibbe was able to see it over my shoulder, and I'll show it to you in the break. But there's video of the hippo doing what I said it does.
I'm seeing a lot of people saying that, that happens.
That's right. That's right.
Wild. I did not know. I mean,
listen, you don't want to be in front of a hippo. You don't want to be behind it. You need to be on the sides of a hippo. That's it.
I mean, we're talking about Coke hippos, too. I mean, these are hippos raised and
they're juiced.
Right, juiced up hippos. I mean, I think that's probably even a whole nother level. Can you imagine the poor people of Columbia trying to deal with that?
They're feeling footloose and fancy free, these hippos.
PFF with their list of players who graded out 90 or higher in Week 7. There were 9 total, 2 for us, Wyatt Teller and Dearness Johnson. Good job out of both of them. Got to go?
Yeah, I mean, we have a guest coming up.
Gosh, that's right. We do.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a quick segment, Gibby.
Man, Gibby.
Told you it was a
All right,
quick one.
Luke
We're
Jones
just
will
trying to
join
live.
us on the Ravens front as we continue around the AFC North coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Injuries during childbirth require experienced counsel. Call the lawyers at Elk & Elk for clear answers to what happened during your child's birth. Elk & Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO today. And with that, we continue our tour around the AFC North through 7 weeks, joined by Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore. Luke, thanks so much for taking the time. Boy, it's a series of have and have not. An incredibly impressive performance against the Chargers, followed up by what Cincinnati did, which was so eye-opening. What did you make of those two results, and how do you put them together and make sense of it?
Well, I mean, I think that's the NFL to a degree, right? I mean, certainly we can get into the specifics of it, but John Harbaugh says it all the time. I'm sure you have heard it from plenty of coaches in Cleveland. Mike Tomlin says it. It really is a week-to-week league, and you have the Ravens coming off of a Week 6 performance against the Chargers, which everyone anticipated being, game of the week, potential shootout. Two young, great quarterbacks, and the Ravens just completely flattened the Chargers. And then, I think there was a thought, there was a perception here in town that the Bengals were better. But let's face it, I think all of us that were looking at the AFC North going into 2021, I think people were picking the Bengals to finish in last place. So did the Ravens take them lately? I don't know. I don't think it's, that's probably some of it, especially with the bye week now. But I think it was a case where Cincinnati really came out and played well. And some of those issues that the Ravens have had, despite the fact they're 5-2 and the sky isn't falling or anything like that, but prior to that Chargers game, what had been talked about? Their running game, other than Lamar Jackson, little inconsistent. Well, it was a non-factor other than Lamar Jackson on Sunday. And their defense, specifically their pass defense and their tackling, had been an issue off and on through the first 5-6 weeks of the season. They were great against the Chargers, and you're thinking, okay, this is more like a Wink Martindale defense. Well, those same issues that had cropped up in some of the earlier games reared their ugly heads. So I think you look at the Ravens, throw out the Chargers game, throw out a terrible performance against the Bengals, and you see what they were over the first 5 weeks. A good football team, I think certainly a playoff caliber football team, but a team that certainly has its issues to address as they start their bye week now.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of that running game. Can you fill me? Why did they stop giving Tyson Williams the ball? It felt like he was pretty effective, and Latavius Murray is very plodding relative to kind of the explosiveness that Williams brought them, at least early in the season.
Yeah, I think that was early on a very interesting question. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, some of it, small sample, he did break a couple long runs early on, but the argument would be, hey, he's got the potential to do that, right? My understanding, and the coaching staff has said nothing publicly about this. Everything's been positive when they've been asked about Tyson Williams. But I think a couple things. One, I mean, he's a guy who's on the practice squad last year. He's an undrafted free agent out of BYU. I think there are some trust issues there in terms of pass protection. And this was even something that showed up in Sunday's loss to the Bengals. I think there's some awareness things, which is going to happen with an inexperienced player who was maybe going to be their number 3 running back this year if they didn't have the rash of injuries. But he had some issues. There was a point in time in the fourth quarter in Sunday's game where Lamar Jackson was calling an audible, and Tyson Williams, you could tell, had no idea what was going on. So I think there's some awareness. I think there's some tentativeness at times with his runs that the coaching staff privately didn't like. And anyone who follows kind of all 22 film study Twitter, there have been some clips of him where he's missed some cutback lanes, and there have been some plays where they thought he left some yards on the field. Now, does that mean he shouldn't be playing over veteran players who, in my mind, have lacked juice and explosiveness at their stage of their career? I think that's a different argument. But explaining why he hasn't, why he's kind of fallen by the wayside, I think those are some of the issues that the coaching staff has seen.
Normally you'd say, all right, this Ravens team's struggling to run the ball other than really Lamar, who remains elite at it. They're going to have problems. They're down big to the Colts. They're going to have problems. Well, not this year. Lamar, 9 yards an attempt, almost 2,000 yards through the air. You got Hollywood Brown having a monster season. Mark Andrews always having a monster season. And then just for me, because last week was the one game I really got to watch and only caught 3 passes, but I think that's going to be probably not the norm as he gets more involved. But getting Bateman back, I mean, this is got the makings of a darn good passing attack.
It really does. And what's amazing about it is all you heard over the summer were the injuries. I mean, first of all, Lamar Jackson misses the first 10 days of training camp with a COVID infection. Marquise Brown missed the entire summer with a hamstring injury. Bateman, of course, hurt the groin, had surgery in mid-August, so he missed the rest of the preseason. Sammy Watkins missed time in the preseason. So, there was so much talk in town here about this passing game, which clearly had been a major focus of the offseason, with everyone seeing how their season ended in Buffalo last year, where they just couldn't generate any offense with the Bills containing their running game. But they've come out and they've thrown the ball really, really well. And they've needed to your point. I mean, the irony of them not being able to run other than just what Lamar Jackson does with his special talent. So it's been very strong in that way. As you mentioned, Marquise Brown has shown much improvement. Mark Andrews has kind of been this guy for a couple years now. I mean, he's been that good. And as you mentioned, the upside is still there with Rashad Bateman. I mean, Sammy Watkins has dealt with a hamstring the last couple weeks. That's kind of the MO of his career. But when he's healthy, he's been good for them. So, there's a lot of upside there. And there is a thought, especially with Bateman joining that mix after him practicing so little and missing most of the summer, undergoing the surgery, that there's upside. And here in Baltimore, they've done a lot of winning over the last 20 years, so there's no complaints on that front from the fan base. But one complaint there has been for most of their existence is not having a very explosive passing game. So for them to have that, it's been exciting for Ravens fans. But I think there is a sense now, because the running game has had the issues it's had, that, hey, Lamar Jackson's phenomenal. He's an MVP. He has nothing left to prove in the regular season anyway. But there is a sense of, can you get a little more going out of your running game? Because you can't necessarily expect Lamar Jackson to bring you back from down 2 or 3 scores every week. And they did it against Indy. They couldn't do it against the Bengals on Sunday, that's for sure.
I want to ask you, Luke, about defensively, and obviously the way that they played against Cincinnati is not the way that you want to play, but everyone has a game like that from time to time. It seemed like they're young players, that there was some real momentum that was starting to come with, and the young linebackers especially, Jason Owe, those type of guys, a kid out of Penn State, that those guys are starting to come along. Patrick Queen, what are you seeing on that side of the ball in terms of heading in the right direction? Was last week just an aberration?
I think last week was an aberration in terms of, giving up 41 points. That's just so not Ravens-like. But some of the issues that we saw against Cincinnati were issues that they've had in some other games this year. Prior to that Chargers game, the real knock on the Ravens defense so far this year has been they haven't played a full 60 minutes. You kind of go through the list. Week 1, lost at the Raiders. They played great defense for 3 quarters, and then Derek Carr went nuts in fourth quarter and overtime. Kansas City, they played great in the fourth quarter, but Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs diced them up for 3 quarters. Even the Detroit Lions, they played very well defensively in the first half, but then the Lions started throwing to their backs and gave them all kinds of fits in the second half. So it's just been very inconsistent, and it's been specifically their tackling, and it's really been their tackling, their linebackers and the secondary, which the secondary is supposed to be the strength of this team. As it relates to the young guys, I think Odafe Oweh, their first-round pick, as you mentioned, he goes by Odafe now. He went by Jason.
That's right. My apologies.
Yeah. Oh, no big deal. But he's been everything that they could have reasonably expected as the 31st overall pick of the draft. So much talk about him not having sacks at Penn State last year. He has 3 sacks. He's played well. He's a really good run defender. He sets the edge very well. But you mentioned their other young linebackers. Patrick Queen has been a disappointment to the point where he's actually been demoted. He began the year as their Mike linebacker, and the Ravens had to turn back to an old friend, Josh Bynes, who now with his third different stint with the Ravens to be the Mike linebacker, and Queen has actually moved to the will spot. So he's played better over the last couple weeks since moving there, but he's not playing every snap anymore. He only played about half their snaps on Sunday. So that's it hasn't been talked about a lot, but with the Ravens, you kind of look at their defensive line: Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, both guys on the wrong side of 30. Derek Wolfe, who has missed the year but is coming back now off of IR certain practices, on the wrong side of 30. So they're pretty old along the defensive line. They're very young at the linebacker position. But they're kind of hoping for some young guys to step forward, and they haven't really done it. I mentioned Patrick Queen Justin Matabike, their third-round defensive tackle from last year, there were high hopes for him. He's been okay, but he hasn't really been a difference maker on the defensive line. So I think you're seeing, not enough young guys step forward at a couple of those positions, and then some of these older guys, not that they've played poorly, but maybe they're a little diminished from where they were a year ago, 2 years ago. So you're just seeing just inconsistency from this Ravens defense. But the big issue more than anything, and that was apparent when Jamar Chase's 82-yard touchdown on Sunday, they got to tackle better. I mean, you can talk about injuries and other areas of the team that need to be better, but fundamentally, if you can't tackle as a defense, this is what John Harbaugh said on Monday, we're going to continue to be a mediocre defense until we get that cleaned up. So it's been a point of emphasis, but it's been a point of emphasis for multiple weeks, and certainly did not see that improvement come to fruition on Sunday against the Bengals.
How has the defense changed schematically, if at all, because of the loss of Marcus Peters? Because they'd like to play a ton of man-to-man, some zero blitzes, which we saw the Raiders, that's going back to week 1, though, take advantage of. I'm assuming that they've adjusted since then. They had those shutdown guys. Now, Humphrey, Chase got the best of him, but he's an elite corner and plays that way more often than not. What's kind of the rest of that back end? How would you assess how they have done so far this season? Because losing Peters is a big blow.
Yeah, I mean, clearly when you lose Marcus Peters, I mean, one thing that's obvious, the Ravens haven't been taking the ball away as frequently. And what's strange about that is, I mean, it wasn't just Marcus Peters who did that. I mean, last year they had a full load of forced fumbles, and you haven't seen them do that as much here in 2021. Schematically, it hasn't changed. I mean, it's changed, but it hasn't been all about Marcus Peters. What's been interesting is, I mean, the Ravens got Tavon Young back, who, as a slot corner, they gave pretty hefty contract to a couple years ago. He had missed basically the last 2 years, one with a neck injury, the other with a torn ACL early last season. So he's been back at the slot. That's allowed them to move Marlon Humphrey back outside. He'd been their nickel, whenever they've gone to the nickel defense, which is basically everyone's base defense at this point in time in today's NFL. But he has been on the outside more frequently. So that's been a different look for them. Certainly, Anthony Averett is not the player that Marcus Peters is. That's stating the obvious. But, he's kind of gotten a bad rap because he's the guy that gets tested all the time because on the other side, you have Marlon Humphrey. You're not going to test him unless you have Jamar Chase, apparently. But Averett's been okay. I think their defense certainly hasn't been as dynamic. They have cut back on blitzing a little bit. But I think a lot of that, I think that's been as much about their matchup than just Wink Martindale saying, oh, well, we can't be nearly as aggressive. I think you still see them play a ton of man coverage. They don't play a whole lot of zone. They've had some games this year where maybe they haven't blitzed as much, but they're still showing simulated pressures. They'll still have 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, and 3 of them are going to drop into coverage and 4 are going to go, but quarterbacks have to figure out which guy is which as it relates to that. So it's definitely been different. It hasn't been as dynamic. I'll tell you where else I think they missed Marcus Peters beyond the obvious play. He has an alpha male personality. I think anyone who's watched him play, whether for your team or you've watched him from afar, he can ruffle some feathers. But he's the kind of guy, he is beloved in that locker room, and he is a very, very intelligent football player. His football IQ is through the roof, to the point that Wink Martindale told us shortly after his torn ACL injury, final preseason game, and this was before Peters got hurt, just for kicks, just for grins, because they think he's that smart, they allowed him to call the defense in the second half of the final preseason game. He was literally their defensive coordinator. The coaches allowed him to do it just because. That just shows. So I think they miss his mental prowess, being there every single day. And I think they miss a little bit of that attitude. And some of the issues I talked about where they haven't played 4 quarters, where they've had issues tackling. Marcus Peters isn't a great tackler, but he has that swagger. He has that dominant alpha male personality that some of their other guys aren't necessarily that. It doesn't mean you can't win. Doesn't mean you're bad without that. But I think anyone who's played the game, you need a couple guys who can rattle some cages when necessary. And I think he's a guy that's perfectly willing to do that, and I think they've missed a little bit of that as well. So schematically, a long answer for your very simple question, but I don't think they've changed dramatically in how they try to play. But there have been some moving parts, and certainly I think they haven't played with the same level of swagger in the back end of their defense that they have with a healthy Marcus Peters.
Luke, this was great, man. Thanks
Yeah.
for the perspective and the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Luke Jones, WNST Radio in Baltimore. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. You think Deshaun Watson gets dealt
I do.
between Tuesday?
Yeah.
Between now and Tuesday?
I sure do.
Miami, Carolina,
Carolina.
or the field?
Carolina.
It does feel like that's the
No trade.
no trade is where you're at.
Lots of smoke.
There's
no
too
fire.
much smoke. There's too much smoke for there to be no fire.
Most of the smoke is coming from the only one that McLean's the only one that I took note of, because a lot of the smoke's coming from the NFL side, and that could be Texans driven.
But they also have said that they have cleared with the NFL that he is not going to be placed on an exempt list.
Well, I thought
this
that report from Rappaport was pretty significant on Monday, where he said that that he would not be
cleared the
put.
way to it happening.
That cleared the way for a trade, but that also could be something where Houston says, "Hey, open it up. Let's see who's interested in acquiring this guy." I think the amount of contingencies that would have to be on any deal involving him would be long list.
I still think it is more likely that it is Carolina or Miami, but I'm interested. What I hope it is that a team that nobody's talking about that has a quarterback, and they're like, but no, this is our Matt Stafford moment.
Well, that would be 49ers. That would be – I mean, Philly's been linked early, so I don't think they would qualify for that. Would that be the – see, there's no way the football team
What about Sean Payton?
Football team couldn't take him on. That would be – the Saints would be one.
I don't know if they have enough money.
Just with cap?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they would do that financially because they were in dire straits before, so I'm not
What
sure.
if you're Tennessee?
One thing
They
we
would
didn't
never
get
trade
to.
Tennessee, but if you're Tennessee, you'd have to consider it, wouldn't you?
Well, for sure. I think almost anyone would have to talk it through. I mean,
2 minutes.
Football boy in Tampa, do you get enough? We teased it at the beginning of the show.
oh, that's right.
Yes.
we
That's
didn't
right.
really talk
Yes.
about it.
He
Okay,
did.
so
He did.
yes, he got more than enough. I like your my feeling on all of this is like just do the right thing. I know that people are saying, "Oh, get your 500,000 or whatever." What if they just
Who
never,
came up with that valuation?
I don't know who
by
put
the
up
way?
with that. I don't know who came up with that number. Like who was going to I would think the number that would matter would be the last number. The last touchdown pass Brady throws is the one you want, not 600, right?
It's
Like who
Well,
cares
he's not-
about
there, no one else has ever done it.
I understand, but we're going to have a flood of guys doing it. 600 is going to become pretty
I
think
don't know.
How far is Stafford from 600 right now? Like those guys that are throwing for 4,500 yards every season.
Yeah, but he's never thrown the.
He's hurt a
Brady's
lot.
played for forever.
He's hurt a lot, Gibby says. He refused.
I don't know. I think that he's played. I don't, and he's nearing not the end of his run, but Brady's been playing forever.
1 minute.
All right, so active Rodgers.
301 touchdowns for Stafford.
Rodgers is at 427.
That's a long way away. That's 6 more seasons of 30.
Wilson's at 277. Yeah, you're right. It
Not
might
even
be
halfway.
one that's. But so all the, I guess in a way that this proves my point. The one that matters is the last one because that's the one. No one cares about the Babe Ruth ball that was 700 home runs. What you cared about was 714, right? So no one's going, oh, I got the 700 home run ball. No, the one you want is
The
714.
guy made out perfectly. The
And
only
he's doing
thing that he
great.
wanted,
and he got 60K in
I
Bitcoin.
saw him in like an NFL Network interview, and he was like, "I'd like to play golf with him."
Oh, stop it! It's enough. You got enough.
30.
You go into all the games. You get $1,000.
And next year.
you get autographed helmets and jerseys from both
And a
Evans
Bitcoin.
and him, and a Bitcoin worth 65K. It's enough. Stop asking. So quit asking.
Wow, it's like Dad just.
I don't
put
think he
the
was still
smack
asking. He
down
was
on
just
him.
saying like if he had his.
And then do you want
dream.
maybe go on a date with Giselle when I'm done with that? You think I could go out with your wife? Would
Hey,
that
man.
be a problem? I've always wanted to date a supermodel.
That's a